Today on the show, we have Kyle May. Kyle May is an online fitness coach and founder of Tailor Made Fitness, who's 100% dedicated to helping busy men lose fat and keep it off without sacrificing their lifestyle. He knows what it's like to struggle with weight loss because he has been through the process himself. During college, his weight reached 300 pounds and he had no confidence to speak of. He was lost, stuck in a vicious cycle, and he had no idea of how to start getting his body back. Eventually, he decided to take control and soon fell in love with fitness and weight training. Kyle turned his life around, shed all that weight, and built positive habits that allow him to be healthy and active. Today, he wants to help other men who are struggling to balance fat loss and a hectic schedule so they can reach their goals. Kyle, so great to be having you here on the show today.
Thanks, man. I'm happy to be a part of the show.
Yeah, definitely. So for the audience's context, before diving on in today, Kyle and I, we met on a podcasting community platform called Matchmaker. And, when I go through these Matchmaker profiles, I've always been intrigued myself, being a health and fitness kind of advocate. And I came across Kyle's profile on Matchmaker. And one of the things that really stuck out about Kyle when I saw his profile was, kind of his holistic approach when it comes to fitness. You see a lot of these journeys that people go on when they have like shed weight or, put on some muscle just to kind of reorient their psychological wiring that comes with a fitness journey. It's so much more than just the actual physical end result that comes about with it. But with Kyle, I think one of the things that really stuck out, like I mentioned, is the balanced approach when it comes to fitness and nutrition. There's such a huge message that comes across in the industry that you have to stick to a plan. You have to stick to a nutritional plan down to the T, whereas Kyle really helps kind of break that message and shows that you can have balance. You can, like as he'll say, have a Saturday night with the boys or, one day when you're with family and you're like, oh, I got to go to the gym. But, this is the one time you're going to get to see family in, whatever period of time that you can give yourself that leniency to say, you know what, one day isn't going to kill me. And so, add on top of the fact of that is, us men as busy working professionals, it's hard to, fit in that time to really focus on our nutrition, to focus on our fitness. And then it kind of goes to the wayside. And then weeks, months, years go on. And you start to realize, oh man, my health may not be in the best shape possible. I want to live a long lasting, healthy lifestyle. How can I get back on track? How can I build healthy habits? And so today, Kyle and I will be chatting a little bit about, fitness and nutrition for the working male professional. And to preface this all off, any guidance that we provide when it comes to nutrition, like please do consult your own nutritionist or licensed health professional. This is only just general recommendation or general insights that Kyle and I can share from our own experiences. So just wanted to preface with that. And so I think kind of to kick it off, Kyle, I'd love it. I know I kind of shed a little bit of light in the intro, but, kind of walk us through your first step in terms of making this physical transformation. I know you went on a trip during your sophomore year in college and you came back and saw a lot of photos that friends of yours tagged you in and you're like, oh man, I got to start changing things. Why don't you go ahead and shed some light on that? And kind of when was that moment that you're like, I need to really get on this?
Absolutely. So I've always referred to that moment as like my oh crap moment. Like, and I'm adamant that most people that go through a fitness journey of the type that I've gone through have a moment like that. And for me, that was in the summer of 2015. It was a class that I was taking in college that revolved around the American Southwest. And the class culminated with a 2-week trip out to the Arizona area for about 2 weeks. And it was really fun. Got to experience a lot of cool things. But like you mentioned, when I got back from that trip, people had started to post photos on social media and were tagging me in them. And it was something about those particular photos. And I'm not sure if it's just because, when people take photos of you, that a lot of times it's not the most flattering. I'm not sure if that played a role, but it was something about those particular photos that struck me and kind of stuck with me. And it is when I realized that, I had always been aware that I was overweight, but I've always put myself in the fluffy category. It was these photos that really stuck in my head and made me realize that I was no longer just fluffy, that I was obese, that I was morbidly obese. And, that kind of was like a waterfall effect. I started to kind of realize other things like the being overweight was also playing into my mental health. I had been struggling with anxiety and depression, and I kind of realized that a lot of that revolved around, being very aware of my size, being very aware of how unhealthy I was. And ultimately, it just made me realize that I needed to make a change. I needed to do something. At that point, I was uneducated in health and fitness. I didn't know what exactly I needed to do, but I knew something needed done. So I really resolved myself that summer to get in the gym, watch what I was eating. And again, I didn't really know what I was doing. And if I could go back with the knowledge I had now, it would look very different than what I was doing. But,
Mm-hmm.
I got in the gym, I had no idea how to use the equipment. I just played around until I figured it out. I was just really, I restricted my calories. I read article after article of how to work out, like how different exercises worked. Learned what a macro was, and didn't know. I know, like, really building that foundation from the ground up. And during that process, during that summer, the initial 12 weeks of my weight loss journey, I lost. I think I went from 300 down to 240, if I remember correctly, before I went back to school. So it was very rapid. Um, and then during that time is kind of when I realized I started to really develop a passion for health and fitness. It's something I started I started looking forward going to the gym as opposed to dreading it. I started really enjoying the diet that I was developing that allowed me to be in a calorie deficit and lose the weight I wanted to lose. I started to really enjoy the process and thrive on that process. And then, as I went, I got more and more educated in fitness and health, and I continued to lose the weight. And ultimately, I graduated college in 2017 at 180 pounds. So I had lost
Oh,
at that
wow.
point 120 pounds. And, at that point is kind of when I decided, what were the next steps in my life. I realized that I really had a passion for health and fitness and like specifically helping people. I had a lot of
Mhm.
people in college, a lot of friends from high school reach out asking for help, for advice. And I just really enjoyed giving it. And I really enjoyed being able to make that positive impact in someone's life because I know how impactful that change can be having gone through it
Mhm.
myself. And that's kind of really what made me gravitate towards the coaching industry that I'm in now.
Yeah, definitely. I can relate to that myself when I first got into a health and fitness type of mindset. The first time when you look at a machine in a gym or a weight, you're looking so dumb trying to figure out like how does this thing work and oh I'm sitting the exact opposite way you're supposed to be sitting when you're on this machine and it's
There
Mhm.
were definitely times early on, if there was a machine I didn't know how to use, I would just like walk by it and just hoping someone would start using it so I could like emulate them. Or like I would wait until the gym was empty and then go mess with it. And if I like, I
Mhm.
can't figure this out, then I would just like go up and like pretend nothing happened.
Yeah, I think so many of us when we start, we go through that exact same type of phase where yeah, we're kind of ashamed, I guess, in a sense of like not knowing how to use the equipment because you feel as if you're supposed
Mhm.
to somehow intuitively know, but in reality, like you were mentioning, it's all about the process of learning how does this work, learning to then progressively work your way through a certain program, certain fitness program that you're working through and as a result you realize that you've fallen in love with the process more so than actually what you're physically seeing as a result of all of that training, all of that nutritional changes that you've incorporated into your lifestyle. And so kind of looking back now, having gone through that, how have you seen embarking on that? I know you kind of touched on it, embarking on this entire process kind of changed your entire outlook when it comes to life. And I think you kind of touched on it now. Like, how are you also sharing that with clients of yours?
And it's crazy because now, as I've gone through my own personal fitness journey, I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I started out, like I said, around 300 pounds, like very overweight. And actually, I went all the way down to 160 pounds when I competed in a men's physique competition. So I've cut my body weight at one point nearly in half. So I've been definitely on both sides of the spectrum. And
Hmm.
you can make the argument that both extremes are just as unhealthy, because
Yep.
one thing, whenever someone comes to me about the show that I participated in. I did a men's physique competition back in 2019. A lot of people say, "Oh, you look so lean, or you look so healthy," and I just think it's really important to preface that end of the spectrum isn't necessarily healthy. I had to be in a very extreme
Mhm.
calorie deficit to follow a very extreme diet and exercise program that just simply will not work for the average person. And, it's not meant to be sustainable for the long term. And that's the main thing that I coach. And the main thing that kind of has been the shift in my mindset throughout this fitness journey is, you know, as you figure out what works for you, it's going to be different than what works for another individual. And ultimately, it doesn't matter what other people are doing. What matters is what you can do and enjoy doing,
Yeah.
because that's going to really facilitate you being able to stick with it for the long term. If you're someone who doesn't like cardio, for example, this is like this. No one I talk to actually likes getting on a treadmill. Then if I build you a program that is focused on you doing cardio, you're going to have resistance to it, and that resistance is going to turn into resentment, and then you're just going to completely fall off the program. However, for example, if you instead of doing that, say you have a dog, you love taking your dog on a walk. If your cardio is taking a dog on a walk, you are so much more likely to follow that because it's something you enjoy doing.
Mhm.
So I think the main thing is that knowing that this journey is going to be different for every single person. It's going to look completely different because we're all different people with different needs, preferences, bodies, genetics. So there's just so many things that play into it. It's going to be different for every single person who embarks on this journey, and that's okay. Just because you saw what something that I do doesn't mean you need to do the same exact thing, or you see something that one of these fitness influencers talks about, or what they do. Just because they do it doesn't mean that you need to do it as well. And this journey is so personal and independent of everything around you. And I just
Mhm.
think that's really important mindset to have as you go about this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the things that's difficult is like, with yourself, Kyle, is like you're such an inspirational figure because so many people are thinking, if Kyle was able to do it in the situation he was in, I can then quote unquote emulate what Kyle did
Mhm.
and I will just follow down to the T what he did. And I'm kind of curious, having competed in a men's physique competition, there's a lot of misconceptions that come with what does it take. And you kind of alluded to it already in terms of
Mhm.
restricting your calories within your diet, working on a specific weight training program. The stereotypical image that comes to mind in a lot of guys' heads is you're just eating rice, chicken, broccoli every single day, 3 meals a day,
Mhm.
and that's pretty much it. There's no real balance. There's no real flavor, if you
Mhm.
will, in the diet and in the program in itself. And you're lifting heavy, super heavy. You're going
Mhm.
to the gym maybe 6.5 days, give or take. And that's the kind of impression that a lot of guys get when they think of, oh, Kyle competed as a men's physique competitor. And,
Mhm.
and, and so I'm curious that throughout your journey, like you mentioned, you've kind of gone across both sides of the spectrum. What are some of the biggest misconceptions you found throughout this process that you would retroactively wish you had known prior, and that you hope that guys who are about to embark on their own fitness journey, or those who are also currently experiencing their own journey, that they incorporate into their lifestyle so that they can live, like you mentioned, a long lasting, healthy lifestyle and keep it something that isn't that you're just going to burn out and give up and have that resentment towards, like you mentioned.
Mhm. Yeah, and there are so many of these misconceptions, and I think a lot of it is driven by what you see on social media. Because a lot of the times what you see people post in the fitness industry, these photos are looking just really, they look really well. Like people post their best selves on
Yep.
Instagram, right? People will
Yep.
post the healthy chicken broccoli rice meal, but they won't post the medium pizza that they ate by themselves later that
Hmm.
same day.
Hmm.
They'll post the shirtless photo of them in the morning where they look really ripped, really lean, but they won't post themselves late at night when they're really bloated after eating like a day's worth of food. That's normal, that's life. But what you don't see, that's what you only see on Instagram is the ideal, right? So
Hmm.
I think that drives a lot of these misconceptions that people in this space are eating these really bland meals. We don't know what seasoning is. We don't know how to, make food good. And that's just the one thing that I found throughout my journey, that I definitely had those meals of chicken, rice, veggies, and stuff like that. Um, but I can tell you that they get boring real quick. And that's not
Yep.
something that I learned really quickly how to, have meals that allow me to meet my goals, but also have fun eating. Because again, a lot of this comes down to finding a plan that is effortless for you to follow or close to effortless.
Hmm.
If you don't like chicken, rice, and vegetables, and I tell you that that's what you need to eat to look like this, yeah, you might start out because at the beginning you're motivated and you want to reach that goal. But then over time, like I mentioned, you start to have a resistance towards this thing that you don't want to do. In
Hmm.
this case, eating chicken, rice, and vegetables. And resistance will turn into resentment, and then that's when you fall off the wagon. So I think one misconception is that we have these really bland meals, and that we're just super strict. We go to the gym, do the same exact things. It's like there is flexibility to this, and I encourage flexibility to a program for anyone. Now, obviously, in the case of like a men's physique competition, you're getting a little bit more nitty gritty in terms of trying to like
Hmm.
get to optimal appearance, aesthetics. But for the average person who's just trying to lose X amount of weight, be comfortable taking their shirt off, be confident with their body, that is not the ideal program for you to follow because it's not sustainable. And that's really the main cog of what I teach in my coaching program is sustainability over everything. There's a big difference between optimal and practical because what might be optical might not be practical for every single person. And the perfect example is for the working professional, right? Say you're someone fresh out of school trying to make a name for yourself in a finance industry, right? You're going to be working long hours. You're going to be, really stressed from that. So if I'm a coach and I tell you that you need to get to the gym 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, and eat these perfectly prepared meals like chicken, rice, and vegetables every single day, that's just simply not going to happen for you because you have other priorities and you have a
Hmm.
certain lifestyle that you want to lead so you can have success where you want to have success. So I think it's really important that when you build a program, you build it so that it fits into the person's lifestyle and that you don't have to fit the lifestyle to the program. So for that
Hmm.
person who's really busy in the working world, 6 days a week, 2 hours a day might not work for them, but we might be able to squeeze in 3 or 4 45-minute sessions during the day. That's just a lot more doable. And that might not be as optimal as those 2 hour long sessions 6 days a week, but it's practical. And it means that they're going to be able to follow it and stick with it for the long term. So even though, what we see online makes us leads to this perception that we're all eating these perfect meals, we're all having these perfect workouts, consistently following this routine with no deviation, that's just simply not true because anyone who does that is going to go crazy.
Hmm. Yep.
You have to be able to allow yourself to go out and enjoy the food you eat, enjoy time that you don't have to be spending all your free time in the gym. And I think again, it just comes down to sustainability and not having to, worry about the plan so much. And instead come up with a plan that allows you to just live your life and the plan just kind of falls into place.
Yeah, exactly. It's so difficult because I think so many of us start out with that plan, that ideal in mind, and then you realize, I can't sustain this. I can't do this. How the
Mhm.
hell did this person keep up with this for so many years on end? When in
Yeah.
reality, it isn't the case. I remember when I started, I like yourself, like I went on those kind of nutritional diets with just chicken, rice, and
Hmm.
broccoli. And, while you can do it, it becomes tiring. And what I love about you, Kyle, is when on your website, on your Instagram, you're like posting pictures of you with In and Out, with like a healthy pizza that you cooked at home. And it's like, yeah, you're spreading the message that you can mix up your nutritional choices and it can still be healthy. You can
Yeah.
still enjoy the food that you're eating. And same thing when it comes to exercise, like,
Hmm.
going 6 days a week or, doing the same exact program. We all can attest to the fact that sometimes you go through a rut, you need to change things up. And yeah, I think that balance that you're mentioning, that I love that optimal versus practical kind
Mhm.
of lens.
Yeah. And I know like when I first started, I'm a prime example of this. I went on to bodybuilding.com and I pulled, I think, the first workout I found. And I was like, yep, this is it. They had a picture of this big ripped bodybuilder saying, yeah, this is the workout I follow. And I was like, all right, I got to stick with this
Mhm.
exact plan. And it was like one of those like 6 days a week, like 2 hours in the gym, these crazy long workouts. And when you first start out, you're super motivated because you want like, oh yeah, I can look like that guy. And you do it for 2 to 3 weeks, and eventually that motivation wanes. And this program just does not fit your current lifestyle. You know, like if you're a student, you're in the medical field, you're just a super busy professional. Like these
Mhm.
workouts aren't going to fit your lifestyle. So then eventually it's just like, all right, I'll go work out. I don't want to do it. And then that turns into, I'm not going to do it today. I'm too busy. I'll do it tomorrow. And then that turns into this program
Right.
sucks. Like then you rinse and repeat. You find another one online and you try and follow that because you think that's optimal. But it's just ultimately what it comes down to is, can you follow this for months and years? What you do in the time frame of like minutes, hours, days is nothing to what you do in the time frame of weeks, months, and years. You have to be able to follow something for a long time. And if you can't do that, it's not the program, it's not the diet, it's not the method for you.
Right. It's all about the sustainability, like you're mentioning. I think when you embark on this journey, all of us have the idea that we want to keep up with this for the long haul, but it's weird because we almost self sabotage ourselves into getting into the short term mindset and going through the rinse and repeat cycle, like you mentioned, with programs, with weightlifting programs and nutritional programs. When you first started out, you thought, I was in a state that I never want to go back to or have experience in again. I want to be able to feel good about my body, feel good just generally throughout life. When years down the line, I want to make sure that, if I, with kids, I can run with them out on a park and I don't feel exhausted and out of breath. And in reality, going to the gym and doing like a 2 hour workout isn't gonna be the answer. You can, do a 10-minute walk every day and you can still do the exact same thing running
Mhm.
around with your kids, in the park. So I think being able to find that balance, being able to find what fits into your lifestyle is such an important thing, especially given how nowadays our time is just so limited for so many
Mhm.
working professionals.
Mhm.
And I'm curious for the working professional, they, like you mentioned, oh, I gotta fit in 2 hours, I have work all day, I have so
Mhm.
many other projects, it's difficult to stick with that plan. So for the busy working professional, student, wherever you are in your life, what are some of the strategies or tips that you found most beneficial to ensure that you sustain this type of healthy lifestyle for the long
Mhm.
haul?
I think the main thing when it comes to, being able to start implementing, changes into your lifestyle that allow you to lead a healthier life, I think the main thing is looking for near effortless swaps that you can make to your current existing routine that
Mhm.
allow you to start developing healthy habits. And, we'll just walk through an example, just like this is a real simple exercise, but it'll kind of give you an idea. So one thing I have clients do whenever they start working with me is I have them kind of just map out a typical day in the life of client X, right? So for this example, let's say client X, he works at a bank. He's in the finance sector, busy life. So he gets up early in the morning, doesn't have time to cook breakfast, so he stops at Dunkin' Donuts, picks up a couple donuts and a iced coffee on his way to work. He works through lunch, and then because of that, he gets really hungry. So then he orders DoorDash to his office during the day. And then he gets home late at night. He doesn't feel like cooking. So then he orders takeout and then goes to bed. So just real simple, right? So one thing I have clients do is kind of walk through their daily routine and see what kind of effortless swaps that they can make into their current existing routine that have the maximum impact. So for client X here, he starts every day going to Dunkin' Donuts, getting a couple of donuts and a nice coffee, right? So one easy swap, would be instead of two donuts, you get one donut, and then instead for the iced coffee, you just choose instead of sugar, you get a 0 calorie sweetener, and instead of regular whole milk, you use almond milk. You're still getting the coffee, still getting the
Mhm.
donut, but the client is now saving upwards of 300 to 400 calories just from one pretty easy swap in their day, right? And
Mhm.
as they continue throughout their day, they get to lunch, they order in because they don't want to leave the office. So let's say they go to Chick-fil-A typically and they get like the regular Chick-fil-A sandwich, like the fried chicken. Switch that to a grilled chicken sandwich, and instead of fries, get a fruit cup. Again, you're still getting Chick-fil-A. You're still being able to save the time, get the food ordered to your office, but you're saving these calories, and kind of like map out your day. And then like say there's a lull in the day where you have an hour that you're not really doing anything. That can be kind of where we plan like some type of activity for you, whether that be going to the gym or going to the walk. You kind of just map out what small changes in your current day to day can you make that are near effortless that allow you to get maximum results. So, because ultimately, what it comes down to for a lot of people are just 4 to 5 small changes in their current life. And if they can be the master of those changes and like, you make those small, like I said, you get 0 calorie sweetener instead of sugar in your coffee, you get 1 donut instead of 2, you get grilled chicken instead of fried chicken. If you can just master these 3 to 4 things, it does a couple things for you. One, it gives you a really good base to build off of. And 2, it gives you confidence in your ability to make these changes in your life. So that way, when you start to incorporate these more, I guess, involved changes like going to the gym X amount of days a week, you have the confidence because you already know that I can make these changes in my life. And I think it's just kind of about building that momentum. And the best place to start are the changes that you can make that do not disrupt your current lifestyle. And for most people, like you can pick out 4 or 5 really easy ones, and then you just get the ball rolling from there. So I think that's definitely my number one tip is just go through your current day-to-day routine and think about just really small changes that you can make that have a big impact when you combine them all together.
I love that. I love that because it comes back to the idea of having it fit into your lifestyle. Whereas most male professionals, they have to fit it all in one go. I have to get all the nutritional changes down packed. I have to be able to go to the gym 6 days a week. And it's a huge avalanche. It's a storm hitting your face, and you're like,
Yep.
whoa, 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 what is going on here? This
Yep.
is a complete 180. But like you mentioned, that momentum, do the small little changes when it comes to your nutritional choices when you start when you going through about your day, and you cut back here or you change some of the ingredients that you're using, and then you pick up that steam, you build that confidence, which then in turn feeds into like the weight training aspect, and then you build that confidence, and then everything, it just opens the floodgates for you to really then unleash the entire spectrum when it comes to fitness and nutritional opportunities that are available to you.
And just like you said, when I started out, I was the same exact way. I just wanted to make all the changes at once. I did all the research. I got to do X, Y, Z. Like, I got to start, right? And that it works in the beginning because you have that motivation, but motivation is very fickle, and it wanes. And when that happens, specifically if you're in the professional world and you already have a bunch of stress from that and other stress from like your relationships and stuff like that, each change you make in your life is going to have a certain amount of stress. It might be a little stress or it might be a lot of stress. But if you try to make all these changes all at once in combination with your typical day-to-day stress, it just becomes insurmountable. And then that leads people to go down this rabbit hole of thinking that they're incapable of making the change when that's not true. All you need to do is kind of spread that change out over a longer period of time. And instead of looking at it as these big sweeping changes in your life, just think about it in more step-by-step basis, these smaller changes that turn into habits, and they replace your old previous unhealthy habits. And over time, they accumulate. And like you said, it's like a waterfall effect. You gain confidence in yourself, and you're putting yourself in a position to be able to stick with this plan long-term because you've implemented these really small changes, and now they've become habitual. And when they become habitual, it's really hard to deviate from that.
Yeah, so I think for all the listeners and viewers, like Kyle's mentioned, start small. Everyone thinks that you need to get it all accomplished overnight within a week, a very short time frame, when in reality, you're embarking on this journey that's going to be so much more important when you look at it from a long-term perspective. I think that's one of the things that I also don't necessarily like about the fitness industry is that it's very short-term minded, whereas in reality, I think the world has really come around in terms of having a more long-term health and wellness perspective on embracing these types of changes. So I love that you shared these tips, Kyle. And I think for all the male listeners and also female listeners as well, I don't want to exclude them,
Mm-hmm.
that, pick up these small little incremental changes. This entire fitness process, I think you can attest to, Kyle, is all about making small incremental changes. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
just the one huge big change. And then you're like, oh, I got everything.
Yep.
I don't need to do anything anymore. When in reality, it's a lifelong journey.
Yep. The way I describe it to people is, it took you more than a couple weeks to develop the habits that brought you to where you're at now. If you're in a
Mhm.
position that you want to lose weight, or you're in a position like I was 300 pounds, I had to lose a lot of weight. It took me more than a few weeks to develop those habits that resulted in that weight for me, right? It was years of these habits. So it's going to take years of work and dedication to reverse that trend, and you really be able to confidently live this healthy lifestyle with these habits that you've developed. And that I always like, whenever I start with a client, I like let this isn't one of those, like you mentioned, the fitness
Mhm.
industry short term. You'll see on Instagram, you'll see on social media, people talk about these 30-day challenges. They're
Yep.
so popular. But the problem is when the 30 days are over, what do? You
Yep.
haven't developed those habits that you can carry out through the long term. And that is really where that's the bread and butter of a successful fitness journey, is being able to develop those habits you can carry forth for months and years prior that after, to allow you to just live this healthy lifestyle without really having to think about it, without it being this source of stress in your life. And that's really what allows people to thrive.
Exactly. And I'm kind of curious to kind of churn things around now. I think one of the things that we kind of touched on is the fact that you're going to have maybe some potential setbacks. You think you're taking two steps forward, but you take three steps back, in a matter of a period of
Mhm.
time when it comes to both the fitness and nutritional aspect. And I know, like you've mentioned this yourself, Kyle, that you've had some setbacks yourself. How have you been able to kind of overcome those two? And I guess it comes back to the sustainability, the longevity. But
Mhm.
for the listeners and viewers who do, maybe they start this journey, they realize, okay, these incremental steps are working, but then, ooh, something just happened and they took, more steps
Mhm.
back than they made progress up to this point. How would you kind of encourage them to continue sticking with it now that they've had this kind of discouraging experience?
Mhm. And I think one thing is really important to bring up is that this happens to every single person. And I think it's really, really common for people to think that, you know, they are the problem, and that they're the only ones who have experienced like this setback, because again, on social media, no one ever posts their setbacks. They just post their
Mhm.
their progressions, right? So I think it's really common for people to feel alone in that. But I think it's really, really pivotal to know that every single person who goes through this process is going to have a setback. They're going to have a period where they overeat on calories, or they're going to have this period where they skip a workout because they just didn't feel like going. And I think it's really important to not view these setbacks as failures. They're temporary setbacks, because
Mhm.
ultimately, what you do for one day, whether that be overeating on calories or skipping a workout, day of time is not going to erase all the work that you've put in over the weeks and months prior, right? It's so hard to kind of shift back because we live in a rat race society. We're focused on
Mhm.
today. But I think it's really hard, and it's a skill to be able to kind of look at things in long term, specifically when it comes to our health. And I think it's really important to know that, you know, since it's a long term journey, since this is a long term process, what matters more than what you do on a day to day basis is what you do consistently every single day, with those occasional setbacks, right? Because if you occasionally, I'll occasionally go over calories, I'll occasionally skip workouts, but that is so heavily outweighed by what I'm able to do consistently through the habits that I've built throughout my journey. So, for anyone who feels like they've had a setback, who feels like they've failed in a specific moment in their journey, just know that that is simply a temporary setback. It is not permanent. It does not speak to your ability to have success in this journey. what speaks to you, or your ability to have success in this journey, is being able to come back from that and consistently develop those habits that allow you to make progress in your journey over the long term, and make that little small setback just exactly that, just a small setback that you can look back on and not have any worry about.
Yeah. So for listeners and viewers, I hope that you can take it from Kyle and myself. All of us have setbacks in this journey, but those habits and that confidence that you're able to build up in yourself prior to the setback, retro, or rather, think back to that moment. Think back to that time when you didn't have those habits built. That confidence was lacking, and you can think, "Oh, this setback is truly nothing." When I was able
Mm-hmm.
to kind of get to this point, and let that carry you forward. And like Kyle mentioned, you'll be able to come back stronger, healthier than ever. And so, Kyle, this has been such a great conversation. You know, what I like to do at the end of each and every single one of my episodes with guests is this final segment called the three keys to relationships. And so,
Mm-hmm.
this is a segment where I ask guests three questions to gauge their own insights and philosophy around relationship management.
Mm-hmm.
And these aren't quick fire questions as well. These questions pertain to any and all relationships. So, with friends, family, romantic partners, business
Mm-hmm.
colleagues, what have you. And so, the first question I have for you is, what's your number one relationship red flag?
Ooh, I think the big one for me is, if you feel like you need to change who you are as a person, like whether it be your behavior, your philosophies, your views, in order to appease that person, that's a big red flag, because I am such a big proponent of, you are who you are and you need to own that, because that's the only way that you can really be confident in yourself, is if you own who you are. So if you find yourself in a relationship, like you said, romantic friendship, that you feel like you need to adjust or put a filter on in order to appease that person or make that person comfortable, I think that that's definitely something that you need to consider, whether that is something that you want to continue to be involved with or not. That's, from my personal experience, that's
Hmm.
something that I found true. If I have such resistance to people whom I feel like I need to put on like a mask for, like, I'm gonna be me, and if that's a problem, then that's definitely a concern of mine.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's too much energy that needs to be put forth, like you were mentioning, putting a
Mm-hmm.
mask on. And do you really want to drain that energy from being able to
Mm-hmm.
fully express yourself in a way that others can appreciate? And if you feel as if you have relationships that you have to invest that extra energy towards, and in this negative connotation of putting this mask on, then is it truly worthwhile for you? So I love that. I love that red flag of yours, and think that in this world we just need to, and I found this as we grow older, we start realizing, you know what, those relationships I used to have in the past where I put a mask on, they don't really serve me, serve my purpose of, and it comes back to the idea of being confident with yourself at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day. You know, when we talk about health and fitness today, having that confidence within yourself stemming from this journey, but also just generally, it's more so this journey helps you gain confidence all around together in your life.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And so the second question I have is a little bit of a converse of that. What's your most underrated relationship quality?
I think for me, it's just being comfortable enough with the person to be able to call them out on their BS. I think that's so underrated, because I feel like a lot of people are just so focused in this constant cycle of trying to save face and, just like stay on someone's good side. And they're so afraid to offend, upset, um, make someone angry. And I just feel like being comfortable enough with the person to tell them, hey, like, what you did wasn't good, or hey, you could be
Hmm.
doing better. Hey, I expect you're so much more capable than what you're showing. I think that's so important, to be able to have someone who you're comfortable enough doing that with, and comfortable enough being the recipient of that kind of message, because I think it's real easy for a lot of people to become comfortable with where they're at when they're capable of so much more. And that's something I look for in my friendships. I want to be able to have people around me in my circle who continue to push me to be better. And if I'm not meeting that expectation, or my own personal expectations, or my potential in their eyes, like being able to point that out to me, and just reminding you that you're capable of so much more.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. There's so much room for growth and improvement. I think when you invoke this growth mentality and you seek out friendships that also
Mm-hmm.
are any type of relationship rather that have the same mentality of wanting to grow. And
Mm-hmm.
because the issue is like you were mentioning, I think there's this idea of you're being critical of someone, and criticism is always viewed negatively when in reality
Mm-hmm.
we need to rewire ourselves to think constructively. I am
Mm-hmm.
I had a previous guest mention being lovingly critical. It's a matter of
Mm-hmm.
you want them to grow and develop, like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned. It's not out of spite, it's not out of hatred towards you or just wanting to nag you for the
Mm-hmm.
sake of just nagging. It's really to help you grow and develop. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think when you can find those relationships, and it comes back to the idea of being confident as well,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of I want you to seek out the greatest level of self confidence in yourself, because oftentimes we are our own biggest enemies and critics. We
Mm-hmm.
think we can't, like you mentioned, we can't achieve something. Something is, the bar is way too high for this particular objective, but a friend,
Mm-hmm.
a colleague, your significant other will call you out on that BS and be like, hey, you can do this. So I
Mm-hmm.
think I totally agree with you on that.
My girlfriend loves to do this to me, where I'll set a goal for myself or something, and if I don't reach that goal in the time frame that I think I need to reach it or something, I am so hard on myself. But
Mhm.
then she'll do this thing every single time. So whenever I did my physique competition, she had photos made, and we had to hang up on the wall. And she would point to the photos and be like, "You literally went from 300 pounds to that. You can do this. You're better than this." And it's always
Mhm.
just a really nice reminder. But yeah, she is so comfortable calling me on my BS, and I'm so better off for it.
Yep. Those are the types of relationships we need to seek out more. And I love that your girlfriend does that because it helps you, like you mentioned, get
Mm-hmm.
out of those ruts, being able to think,
Yep.
you know what? My friends, my significant other, my business colleagues, they're right. I can achieve more for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So for the listeners and viewers, definitely seek out those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And the third and final question I have is, what would you say is your own mantra or slogan for relationship management?
I think mine would be if they don't make me want to be better, I'm better off without them.
Mm.
I'm such a big proponent of having a circle of people around you who make you strive to be a better version of yourself, to make you improve in some capacity. You know, whether it be you want to be a better man for your girlfriend, or you want to be better at whatever you're trying to succeed at, in order to match the same energy as those around you, your friends, your family. And I think some relationships, unfortunately, some friends that you may have. I've had friends in the past who don't really want to see me succeed because they measure their own success based off of the success of those around them. And if they feel that they're not reaching that same level, instead of trying to pull themselves up, they'll try and bring you down and try to level the playing field that way. And that, if someone's doing that, that's definitely not the kind of relationship I want to have around me. I want people in my circle who help build each other up and make you strive to want to be a better version of yourself. So instead of, trying to pull you down, they help to build you up. And, if someone's not serving you in that way, or they're trying to bring you down to their level and prevent you from having success, that's not the kind of relationship I want to be involved with.
Yeah, there's life is too short to have that type of energy surround you. And so being able to have those positive energy filled relationships where, like you mentioned, they're building you up, and it's mutual also. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
they're building you up and you're not
Yeah,
reciprocating.
exactly. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, start to get this idea that, success is a zero sum game, and it's not.
Mhm.
I think people think that you need to, in order for you to be successful, you have to make those around you less successful. But in reality, really, you need to build each other up, because you can all be super successful. You don't have
Mhm.
to attack each other. You don't have to belittle each other in order to achieve that success. In fact, together, you can achieve more success because you have that support and you have that drive that everyone around you is giving you in order to reach your full potential.
Exactly, exactly. I wish all of us could get that idea or wrap our minds around that idea. And I hope that, towards the future, people like yourself will be able to continue inspiring people to understand that success, like you mentioned, is not a zero sum game. We're all in this together. We all have strengths and weaknesses as individuals. And that's what makes life in reality so beautiful, that we have all
Mhm.
these different like knowledge and skill sets that we can share with others to build them up, and they can also provide their own knowledge and skill sets to help build us up, because it's
Mhm.
all about progressing humanity forward, not just your individual self. Otherwise you get too short-term focused, and
Exactly.
in my personal opinion, there's no fulfillment in that when you're not able
Mhm.
to build a community.
Exactly. And that's, from my personal experience, the most fulfilling moments of my life are those that I've been able to impact others around me in a positive way. Those are the moments when I know that I've made someone's life better in some capacity. Those are the moments that I feel the most alive. And I feel like I'm really, living my life to its fullest potential when I'm able to help those around me and leave them better off than when I met them.
Yep. And Kyle, you're doing such a great job helping so many guys that are stuck when it comes to health and fitness and nutrition, in terms of getting them started on a program, getting them confident, building these habits. And so for listeners and viewers who are interested in working with you, or just interested in learning more about how to embark rather on this health and fitness journey, how can they best get connected with you if they want to work with you, learn more about your journey, and get started themselves on their own health and fitness journey?
Absolutely. So probably the best method to reach me is just via social media, at TaylorMade Fitness on Instagram. If you like more lighthearted content on TikTok, I am TaylorMade Fit on TikTok. I've recently gotten on that app and I have a lot of fun playing with that. But other than that, you can also reach me by email at tailormadefitness@gmail.com. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, anything specific, or if you want to work with me as a client, you can reach out to me on social media, email, and get you started. But if anyone has any questions, just general fitness advice, hit me up. I'm more than happy. I love answering questions for you. Even if you have no intention of being a client, I just generally love helping people. So if anyone has any questions, wants to know more about me and my personal journey, any advice, my DMs are open.
Awesome. And yeah, I will be linking all of that down below in the show notes or description if you're watching this. And, some of the content that Kyle posts on Instagram, or especially his TikToks are pretty funny. So I definitely encourage folks to check it out. But, Kyle, this has been such a great conversation. I think this has been a really great jumping pad for those who maybe have felt lost, or maybe as if they felt they've fallen off the wagon, to get re-inspired or inspired to embark on their health and fitness journey. And I think what you're doing in terms of helping people understand that there's a balance to this entire process, that it's all about building small incremental habits that build up the confidence, that then in turn build greater changes that lead to the sustainable lifestyle change. It's all about the sustainability, I think, is the real message and theme of this entire episode. And so, Kyle, this has been such a great time chatting with you. And I want to leave some time here at the end for you if you wanted to share any lasting messages.
Yeah, I think the one thing, like you said, I think the main thing when it comes to a fitness journey or a health journey is that it's not a big leap. It's small steps. People say success is a ladder. I would argue that it's more like a set of stairs, right? Specifically in a fitness journey, each step represents a small habit shift that you make in your life. The step itself might seem insignificant in isolation, but as you continue to climb these steps and these habits can pile upon each other. When you look back, you realize just how far you've come and you realize what success you've had just by focusing on these small shifts. So I think, in order to have big success, start with small shifts. That's all you need. It doesn't need to be these big, profound, hard to sustain changes. It's just these small changes in your life that in sum create profound impact and success.
Hey everyone, my name is Shadman Rahman, and thanks for tuning in to my YouTube channel today. I hope you found this episode of the Between Us podcast enjoyable, and that you're walking away feeling entertained, inspired, and/or motivated. If you particularly enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and smash the like button down below and leave your thoughts in the comments section. And if you'd like to go ahead and keep up with the podcast, go ahead and follow our social media And please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell, so that way you can find out about new episodes as soon as they're released. Until next time, everyone, take care, and we'll see you all in the next episode.